You're listening to the Pants Off Podcast with Clark Bartram and Jeremy Jackson.
CBTs, performance apparel, where fashion meets performance. Upload your custom design or grab the CBTs Deal of the Week at clarkstees.com. The podcast with CB and JJ is sponsored by Providence Video Productions in Escondido, California, providers of full creative video and audio production services. Utilizing state-of-the-art professional equipment for all your broadcast needs. Web page, embedded or live streaming videos and podcasts. Aerial drone videography. Music videos, 3D animation, studio and field production. Contact us at providencevid.com.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen, with the Pants Off Podcast, and I got to tell you, I am so excited today to bring you into the new and improved Pants Off Podcast studio. I do have to say, though, that I'm a little sad that my partner in crime, my buddy, my main man, Hobie himself, Mr. Jeremy Jackson, is not with me again today because Jim, he's got other things that he's got going on in life right now that have taken precedence over this, and you know, sometimes that happens, man. So I'm multitasking here, as are you. I've got Instagram Live going, I've got Facebook Live going, I've got the podcast going live. But you know what? It is all good because that's what we do in today's world is we multitask to get things done. But let's slow it down a little bit. So with that said, you can go ahead and take that music down, Jim. And I'm going to leave this up here so my Instagram people can watch if they want to watch. But Jim, brother, you are awesome, man. So the first thing I want to say is last week's show, everybody loved you on there. I have so much positive feedback from you being on the show. I thought, let's go. If JJ's not here, you know, I mean, Big Jim is just as good.
Hey, second stringer is better than not being on the team.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not second string, you're first string. So guys, look, in addition to being, you know, a great co-host with a lot of great information, as you know, Jim owns Providence Video Productions, and we're here in his home. This is the left wing of his house. And it is, like I said last time, his man cave full of audio and video and musical things. He plays guitar. He's got a band. He edits and shoots videos, and he does a lot for his community. But what he did to the Pants Off Podcast studio is beyond belief. So what I'm going to do right now is take one of the two cameras that we have going live that he is switching from live, and you need to understand that. I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm saying Joe Rogan does not have the level of technology that we have here at the Pants Off Podcast. Now, let me show you what I'm looking at, you guys. So I'm going to take the camera that's on me. You can see I'm pointing at it. And we got Buddy in the background sleeping, chilling, ate about 20 avocados this morning on the walk, I can imagine, right? Is that what
Probably.
happened? But I'm going to turn this camera around. I want to show you the newest addition to the Pants Off Podcast studio. Take a look at this. Wow, right there is an 82-inch. What kind of TV is that?
It's a Samsung.
But what is the technology? Is it a, you know?
It's a ultra high
definition, 4K
HDR, high dynamic range
TV.
That works.
That is the best TV going
4K,
right now.
Yeah.
So guys, what you're looking at up on the screen right now is what I'm seeing. I am actually seeing. So I'll show you guys on Instagram what I'm looking at. Let me turn this around. So I can see myself up here, and when people ask questions, I'm seeing the Facebook feed as well. So if you guys have questions you want to ask me, feel free to do that because that's the reason we go live. But anyway, man, I'm really excited by the digs that we have here at the Pants Off Podcast studio. So once again, Jim, thank you very much. You are a gentleman and a scholar and very smart man who, man, has just got a badass man cave. This is legit. But I don't know if you guys watch my lives all that much, but last night I went to a concert. Did you see any of that?
No. Who'd you see?
George Thorogood.
Oh, bad to the bone.
Oh, yeah. You know what? And I got to tell you, that guy is an entertainer. He is really good. Whether you like his music or not, you have to give him credit for just being a massive entertainer. He knows what he's doing. He comes out on stage, and you are thoroughly engaged from the first stroke of his guitar to the very end where he plays the national anthem, and he comes out and he takes a bow, and everybody's standing there with pride and just enjoying the fact that we have the freedom to go to a venue like the one that I did down there at Humphreys by the Bay.
Oh, so yeah, it's a pretty intimate setting too. Yeah.
You know, people come up in their boats and they're chilling, stuffed in there. They're smoking weed. They're just celebrating freedom, you know, and listening to this guy. So that brings me to, you know, some of what I wanted to talk about today is operating within your purpose. I think that's important for us to probably talk about today, because I know for sure that I'm operating in mine. There's no doubt. Every day when I wake up, I feel very fortunate when I put my feet on the ground that I have the opportunity to do stuff like this, man. Because this is not just me getting on a camera or a podcast and talking about random stuff. The intention behind it is to encourage and motivate people, like we say every show. And if I'm being honest, I really feel like that's why I was created and put on this earth, man. So I guess the question I have for you, Jim, do you feel like you're operating where God intended and what your purpose is in life?
I believe so. I think that's where a lot of people have difficulty. I read a book, it's been a couple of years now, that's called Bored in a Culture of Entertainment. And it's about how we have never had as many amusement options, and, you know, just from all kinds of activities and media sources. And what's the biggest complaint? People are bored.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, that game for Fortnite. You know, just heck, this phone right here is full of all of the entertainment that you would in your hand. Mm-hmm. And people are bored. That's what this book was talking about. And the reason is people don't have purpose. They don't have reason to do, motivating them to do whatever it is. So, and we look back at, you know, times past where we lived in you look at these lives of people 100 years ago who were a lot of manual labor. Yeah.
And you would think, I would be out of my mind, bored, having to do all those manual chores, you know, just to stay alive, basically.
Right.
But they weren't bored. There was purpose behind what they were doing.
Food, shelter, you know, sustaining life.
So that's something to think about.
You know, I talk to a lot of people, and I ask that question a lot because I think it's important for people to really consider that in their own life, because it's easy to get sidetracked because of life, right? You have to support yourself. You got to go get a job, and maybe that job is not within what you feel brings out the best in you. So you allow that job to bring you down and kind of cover up what it is that makes you shine, what it is that makes you happy, what it is that makes you unique and special to the world. Because the reality is, every single one of us, every single one of you has a gift and a purpose. And it's really just a matter of, you know, finding it, and then you don't need to do it 100% of the time. It doesn't need to be your full-time gig like mine is, fortunately enough. But you certainly can operate in it, even in your workplace, you know, even in school, wherever it is you find yourself. If you manage to take off all of the day-to-day things that would cover it up and limit you from being able to see it, I think it becomes much more of an enjoyable experience to live this life from day to day. You know, it's frustrating when I hear people, you know, I'm just going to keep it real, man. My son yesterday, he was kind of Mitch, smart kid, talented kid, man. But he was saying, you know, sometimes I just don't feel like what am I supposed to do? And I think a lot of kids might be lost, and they were not even just kids, man. Adults, so many people, man. But anyway, it just got deep fast in here.
Right.
It just got deep fast in here. So,
but yeah, what are we supposed to do? I mean, a lot of times we really need to look outside of ourselves. I think, you know, I've read about happiness. What is the factors that are, it make people happy? What makes your life happy? And most of or at least one of the main reasons is you do things for others, not just for yourself, but doing, charity work or just whatever it is, that it's not all about you. I think, and that's what our culture is constantly pushing for us to do, is to think of yourself first. And that, of course, that's one of the main reasons that marriages fall apart.
Yeah, you're thinking yourself. Well, you asked the question, what do we do? And you just answered that question. I think a good place for everybody to start is service, acts of service, right? Get outside of yourself, because it is really easy to get caught up in, this, and you didn't remember it, but I quoted it last week, the cartoon when I was young, the Lilliputians, oh, we're doomed. When you start just closing in, and you have to look at yourself sometimes, so it becomes, you live in a, just this bubble in a way where you're not able to think of other people. But if you're awake enough to realize that when you do acts of service, like Jim mentioned, that will really open up parts of you that may have been closed off because you haven't allowed yourself that gift. And I just got to be honest, I love nothing more than doing that. You're doing that right now for me. You've opened up your home. There's, tens of thousands of dollars worth of gear in here. The guys, listen, that I'm getting for free because Jim is doing an act of service saying, I believe this guy's got a message, and I want to use what I have to get that out to whoever it is that's going to hear it. So we all have that connectivity in our life where we can do whatever it is that we have available to us and open that up to somebody else. And maybe you know how to dance, maybe you know how to read and somebody else doesn't. You're a tutor, you know how to cook. I don't know. You can go visit an old folks home where people are just laying there waiting to die with no families. Families have abandoned them. So if you take your little family, as broken as it may be, as dysfunctional as it may be, and walk into an old folks home and just go look at someone and hug them, bam. That's huge.
Right. You've got to look outside of your comfort zone sometimes to find those opportunities.
Yeah, and that's a big part is comfort, right? That's part of being in our own bubble, is we want that comfort. Therefore, that comfort keeps us safe, and that safety keeps us separate from the world that is in need of your gift, guys. And I think that because of the pressures of the world, like I said a minute ago, we get so caught up and we convince ourselves that we don't have anything to give to the world. That's part of the lie. That's part of the lie that we start telling ourselves when we get in this cycle of, fear, the cycle of disbelief, the cycle of who am I? I do that all the time, I saw a guy in the gym yesterday, and he's a guy actually I've never had an issue with anyone in the gym before. Me and this guy just did not click for some reason. When I asked him, was he still using a machine? And so for months, we walked around like we were ready to fight. But I finally approached him. I said, listen, brother, if I did anything to offend you, I'm sorry. So anyway, long story short, we're friends now. And I've gotten to know him. And he's a great guy. He gives back to people, and he comes from a rough background. So yesterday, he was in the gym, and I could tell his demeanor was different. I could see a heaviness on him. And he was just kind of walking around, and he looked sad. So I walked up to him, and I said, hey, man, are you okay? And he's like, no, man, I'm not. And I said, what's up? And he goes, I didn't sleep last night. There's a lot on my mind. I said, I could tell. So I just went on to tell him, I said, listen, man. What he said next was, he goes, sometimes I just don't feel like doing it. Everybody's looking to me for encouragement. They're looking to me for coaching. And I said, brother, I get it. Sometimes it's hard being that person. And we're all that person to a degree, right? Some people have more people looking at them. Other people have less. But if you're a parent, you have somebody looking at you, and it gets hard. But you can't ever give up. You can't ever quit. And you have to surround yourself with people who are going to bring out the best in you. And you've got to do things that are going to constantly remind you of the fact that you have a purpose. Maybe your purpose is just to be a parent, and a damn good one, you know?
Yeah.
I need some water.
Whatever it is, wherever you're placed, be the best. That was the message from Drew when he was on a couple weeks ago. You know, if you're a kicker on an NFL team, be the best kicker there is.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Yeah, speaking of that, Drew's on his way to camp. He has his first preseason game, I think like August 19th or something, against the Dolphins. Yeah, but I got a lot of miles. I might go jump on an airplane and go see one of his games. I mean, what a deal, man. That's so cool for him to be able to live his dream, because he never gave up. He never quit. He just kept pushing. But I don't know, guys. I didn't mean to get all this deep all of a sudden.
I think a lot of people, I think, have the kind of a down attitude, thinking that they don't matter. You know, we can look at, someone like yourself who's a high profile person. You're influencing a lot of people. A lot of people look to you for inspiration. Drew Ferris, he's got this amazing story of coming from being in, a third stringer, a walk-on, and in a position that doesn't get a lot of respect, a lot of publicity, and making it onto, a starter on an NFL team. So it's like, those are pinnacle moments. Those are high achievements. But sometimes, for an average Joe or Jane, it's hard to say, what difference does it make, how I treat this person I'm in next to in line or sitting next to in a concert? Then what does it matter?
That's a really good point. You never know what that next person is going through in their life, and what it is that you could do, either good or bad, how that's going to affect them. I mean, have you ever been in a situation where you kind of went out of your way and you talked to somebody and they started sharing some stuff with you, and you're like, whoa, I had no idea. There was a video that was going around on Facebook for a while. It was about this guy who was caught up in the world, and he was coming home every day and passing by people. He was passing by, then suddenly he got these glasses somehow, and the glasses allowed him to see into the people's lives that he was passing by every day. And there was a lady that he saw on the street, and apparently the backstory on her was she had just gone through a terrible divorce or whatever, because she was getting beat up by her husband every single day, but she put on a happy face as she was walking down the street. Then the little kid that, he was mad about, the bike was in his driveway or whatever, just, lost his dad or whatever. So you just never really know. If we all had those glasses where we could see into somebody else's life who has this facade on the outside of, well, I got to go out there and put on a happy face every day. If we could see into their life, maybe we would be a little bit more generous with our joy or our attitude or our words of encouragement, And as cliche as all of that sounds, and as soapbox and as preachy or however, whatever label you want to put on that, man, it's the truth. It is the God's honest truth. And it's, it's crazy to think about how simple it is. It ain't easy, but it's simple. It ain't easy, right? We all have our stuff, because we are that person too. If you could put on your glasses and see into my life as to what's going on in the background when I put on this happy face every day, you'd go, wow. I had no idea. That's why last week when we talked about, the struggles that I have, and I'm admitting them again today, someone's comment was, Clark, it was really neat to kind of look under the hood into your life and see that you're a guy that struggles with issues no differently than everybody else. Because people in my position and that guy in the gym, you tend to get put up on a pedestal as if nothing affects you, or you don't have any issues that you're dealing with in the background. And that's where the pressure comes from. Because who do you share that with? So you're not letting someone down, and you're not, kind of stealing someone's thunder. So, I'll often walk around and go, okay, who do I talk to? That's why it's important that we have a circle of influence that is very loyal and trustworthy, that we can open up those walls and go, this is what's going on. These are the struggles I have right now.
Hey, even Superman has his kryptonite.
Yeah.
Right? I think, when you're on that public platform, you are, and you present a persona of strength and of confidence, and it's not always there. It's sometimes, you need to put on, your public face, and a great attitude that you're not necessarily feeling.
I've gone to so many events, and 5 minutes before they started, I'm telling myself, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. But the minute I go on, something takes over. And I honestly 100% believe it's God. Because when I'm going through those times of doubt and fear and, who am I? Why am I doing this? I think it's stripping me of my ego and my Clark Bartram, going out there acting as if I got this, I can do it. I don't have nothing. I can't do anything. And I got to allow all of that to happen and then present myself completely empty and allow whatever entity is coming through me, and I'll define it as God, to use me in a situation with the gifts and talents that I've been given. And I learn that every single time. And it's very rare, Jim, that I'll go to an event and feel like I'm good enough, I'm worthy enough, I'm capable. Matter of fact, it gets worse all the time. I feel less capable. I feel less worthy. I feel less, like the guy that, should be being used, man. It's crazy. It really is kind of it's an irony if you think about it, but it's a beautiful one in the sense that I think that's the way it's supposed to be, Well,
I think we need. My personal belief is that we draw strength, and we derive our purpose from that relationship with God. I mean, we're created beings in His image, and we have a purpose, and that's where it comes from. Other people are looking at other things, but that's really, I think that's the ultimate source of purpose. If we're looking for something.
Yeah, it should be.
That deeper meaning in your life.
Yeah. Wow. So, man, this is this is real, man. I have that book. I thought about this today, if I should share this or not with people. The book I wrote, Where Your Mind Goes, You Go. I told you the story behind that. You know the story behind how that book was written, or why that book was written.
I think I do.
So I was on Home Shopping Network, and I was selling 3D abs. Remember 3D abs?
Oh, yeah.
I was on Home Shopping selling that, and I did great. I sold out. Made a bunch of money. I was flying home. And on the way home, I had a panic attack on the airplane. A complete 100%.
On the airplane?
Code 10 panic attack.
Why on the airplane and not while you were in front of the cameras?
Well, that happened once, too, on Home Shopping Network. Before I was walking on, my body from head to toe went completely numb. I felt it go, like this vibration. And I started talking to myself on set, and the producers can hear you. And I started praying. And I started, in the minute I got on stage, I was okay. But there was a point where I was going to turn around and run out of Home Shopping Network. And I can't remember if it was the same trip or not. But the one that really got me, the one that really affected me, and I'm sharing this with you guys because I know there are people out there that have experienced the same thing that has caused fear in my life in many situations as an after effect and aftershock. Driving home, watching $1 Million Baby, the Clint Eastwood boxing movie. No stress, nothing going on. I think there were some life cycle phases. My kids were like going into middle school or something different, right? That causes those life cycle phases of stress and anxiety. But anyway, everything's cool. And all of a sudden, My hands started sweating. My feet started sweating. My tongue felt like it was swelling up in my mouth.
Now, what were you thinking of having to do it again?
No, I was thinking of nothing.
You're
That's
on your
the
way
point.
home.
Yeah, that's
like
the point.
Decompression time.
Yeah, nothing was going on. I was so chill and so relaxed. Everything was great. I made a grip of cash, so everything was cool. So yeah, there were no indicators as to this event was coming. You know, what I now know was an anxiety or a panic attack, which at the time I thought I was dying. I thought I was dying. My heart was beating through my chest. Started having all this fear and anxiety. And I honestly thought to myself, I'm going to go jump out of the airplane. I was going to jump out. I came within, minutes, literally. I was going to unbuckle my seatbelt and walk to the door and poof, pop it open. And I started really envisioning it in my mind. And this is the God's honest truth. I started flicking through the little radio on the armrest, and there was some Christian music playing. So I started listening to that and made it to Atlanta. I called Anita, and I sat on the ground at the tram, and I said, I cannot move. I cannot come home. I'm stuck here in the airport. I'm afraid to get back on the airplane. Thank God.
But it wasn't anything to do with the fear of flying.
No.
It was...
I've flown millions of miles.
It was just the situation in your life.
Mm-hmm. So...
the pressure of...
all of that.
Of the whole media...
Kids growing up, media, finances. I don't know what was going on with me, but just life all coming together at once, causing too much pressure on me. So she talked me on the plane. I get home, and I didn't want to take any drugs, so I started seeking help. And I went and found a counselor, a really good one, who started teaching me different things that I didn't know, simple things like boundaries in my life and what was happening and why I didn't need Prozac or any of those kinds of drugs. Not that it's bad for anyone that's taking them. Listen, I don't want you to think that. Just wasn't a choice for me. So then I started studying the mind because I realized that was where it was originating from. It was my thoughts. It was me rehearsing these thoughts. And it was all of these things, that the pressures of life coming on me. So I thought, okay, I need to start managing that. But the book, I was sitting there and I was watching Joyce Meyer, the lady preacher on TV. And she said, where the mind goes, the man follows. And bam, in my spirit, I heard, that's the title of your book. And I'm like, what? Book? What book? I'm not writing a book. God's honest truth. I get up. I walk to my computer, which is about 15 feet away from the couch I was sitting on. Started typing. Boom. Typing. Stayed in the house for probably 3 weeks. Finished that book. And then I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Right? I don't know what to do next. I heard Google best book designer. Best book designer. First one that came up, that's the guy. Call him. Called him. Guy answered the phone. Okay, yeah, I can design your book. You saw the book. Beautiful design.
Yeah.
Really nice. Then I'm like, okay, now what? Well, he said you got to order them in China. So, a couple months later, I hear boop, 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 boop. I look out. Down my driveway is a huge semi backing up 2 pallets full of Where Your Mind Goes, You Go. Now I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Put it on Amazon.com, sell it at every speaking event, get online, share it everywhere you go, give it away, do whatever you got to do. Sold all of those books, became a bestseller on Amazon.com. And the only reason I'm sharing that is because that was all birthed from a very, very dark, scary moment in my life, man, where I wanted to jump out of a freaking airplane. But I knew enough to dig deeper and not do the immediate thing, like go cover it up, go hide it, go make myself numb with a drug or an alcohol or a prescription medication that's designed to help take the edge off. Because that's the first thing a doctor's going to do. Take this. And literally within minutes, if you go to your doctor and say, man, I got a little bit of anxiety, they will have the prescription pad out to give you, I always forget the name of that drug that they give everyone for anxiety. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So there are people out there that I'm saying that potentially, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not playing one on this podcast, and this is not medical advice, but what I'm saying is, if you want to get off that sort of thing, like Jim and I talked about last week with insulin, if you study the mind, if you realize the role that your thoughts play and the role that your conversations play in your own head, and you learn how to manage them better and allow them to flow through and not marinate on them, and realize that they're a part of the human process and it's nothing to be afraid of, I would venture to say that there's a really good chance you could stop using those and not have the ill effects of taking those anxiety medications.
Well, I think it's, very much a way of looking at things that happen to you. You can take a bad experience or a bad circumstance, and actually you can let it sort of destroy you or start cycling you down, let's say into depression or addiction or whatever. I think if you can turn those situations into, work it to something positive, when I think the first time I had a life crisis was when I was in high school. And of course, every freshman thinks that they're an athlete, right?
Right.
Whether they are or not. And getting cut from the basketball team.
No.
Okay, I'm not a basketball. I really shouldn't have even been playing basketball. But anyway, you're going out for the team. You don't make the team. So that was a decision. How was this going to affect me? Well, I became a manager of the team. Instead of retreating into whatever, being a troublemaker or, you work on things that you can do. Well, I can take stats. I can help out, being a student manager of the team.
Right.
You can be involved. And that was like do what you can, turn what's a bad situation and like a life crisis. Well, I guess I'm not an athlete.
Did you have a parent to tell you go do that, or is that something you did on your own?
My mom was always supportive, but
right. What wasn't their suggestion? Like, Jimmy, you should go. And
no, it sort of came internally, I guess,
which is huge.
But what could have led to a lot of bad decisions, make it a positive. Start doing positive things based on a bad, situation.
Their kids getting cut from the basketball team all the time, and I say that figuratively speaking, right? Boyfriends, girlfriends breaking up with them, parents getting divorced, acne. There's just a million different things at that age in life that are definitely the beginning of those life crisis moments, because everyone always talks about a midlife crisis, and that's the one that gets the most publicity. When there's a million prior to that, man. There are a million life crisis moments that we experience prior to that. And I can remember them all the way back to sports days, right? For us back then, it's kind of funny because I can remember having to take showers in middle school.
Yeah, PE class.
Yeah, PE class. They don't take showers now after football games or any of that. Well, I was the kid. I had no hair on my wiener, right? And all these other kids are I was a late bloomer, and thankfully now that's paying off for me. But back then, oh my God, dude. That was a life crisis moment.
That's a crisis, yeah.
You got to go, and with your little wiener, you're going in there, and you got guys like Craig Stedickley, and it was like, what the heck is that, And those moments stick out in your life because they are definitely things that affect you in a way, and people don't talk about that stuff enough to let kids know that, look, man, this is a part of your journey. And if you can do, like you said, somehow manage to take that really shitty, there it goes, that really shitty moment and turn it into something better. Like maybe Jimmy broke up with you and now you're, going to go try out for cheerleading because you have got extra time and you got a scholarship to school because you're a cheerleader. You just never know, man. But yeah.
Even just things that you're involved in a car accident. It's the why does this have to happen to me?
Right.
Why? Well, there's a possibility that something good will come out of it.
Right. Yeah. So let's lighten this up a little bit.
All right.
I'm going to see Thursday Joe Bonamassa. As a guitar player, you love some Joe Bonamassa.
He's the man.
Yeah, that guy shreds, man. So talk about another person living in their purpose, man. That guy, when you see these musicians playing, that to me has always been something that's very interesting. When you go to a concert, I go to a lot, as you know, when you're watching them in their element, everything seems to fade around them. Even the entertainers that are entertaining to the crowd, they're doing it within kind of a universe that is separate to them. Because when that music starts playing, and Jeremy and I talked about this. Jeremy, I miss you, buddy. I wish you were here. Here's your chair. This chair's empty for JJ right here. So, but we talked about, the vibration of music, and you as a musician know that better than everyone or anyone that, when you're in that moment, it's really cool to see you have a guitar player, you have a bass player, you have a keyboard player, you have a drummer, all doing their thing, but somehow collectively they come together. They're single entities doing separate things, but when they come together, it becomes one thing, like a cell almost, right? If you think of it like a cell.
Yeah, Joe, he knew very early. He was a child prodigy. There's videos of him, playing with, I think it was B.B. King.
Yeah. Yep.
And he was maybe 12 or 13 years old.
See that 14-year-old kid on Facebook yesterday? A little black kid with hair?
I've seen one of a real young kid playing.
He was Stevie Ray Vaughan? Shredding face?
Yeah, I've seen that. That's been out for a while.
Okay,
yeah.
I just saw it yesterday for the first time. And there's an example of someone, because you can see it, man, that the face, just gets all distorted and crazy, but none of that matters.
Yeah.
Typically, we're so concerned about what other people think, but somehow in the musicians especially, and me in the gym, make these ugly faces, but somehow it doesn't matter.
He knew right. But, there's also great videos of, there's an older lady who is just killing it at some blues festival. She's playing slide guitar, probably, well into her 60s.
Had she been playing for a long time, or she just picked it up?
She looked very, like someone's grandmother.
Yeah.
But she was killing it. She
probably was someone's grandmother.
Didn't fit the stereotype.
Yeah, there's a stereotype for all of it, man, right? We put people in boxes and expect certain people to look certain kind of ways. I can get, people expecting me to look a certain way because I'm in the fitness industry, right? And that kind of goes hand in hand. But what does a guitar player look like?
Yeah. Well, Joe doesn't have the, the crazy look like
Ted Nugent,
Steve Perry,
right?
Yeah.
What's the guy from the guy that looks like
Eddie Van Halen is the classic.
Who's the guy from what's that band? The blonde haired guy looks like a little girl.
Oh, AC/DC?
No, I went to the concert just a few months ago. Is it Foreigner? No, it wasn't Foreigner. Was it? Anyway.
There's a bunch of them that look like girls.
Yeah. Well, that was the 80s, right?
In the 80s, it was
the glam rock.
The big hair.
I looked like a girl in the 80s, man. When I was on Kiana's Flex Appeal, I looked at one of those videos the other day, and those makeup artists, man.
They were putting the eyeliner on you.
Oh, yeah, man. I look back on those videos, I'm like, why did I allow them to put that much makeup on me? I guess I didn't know. I thought, I was just like, okay, I'm here. I don't know what to do. They're putting makeup on me.
Yeah.
And they were a couple of, gay dudes from West Hollywood that were just having fun, like I was a little makeup doll. They were probably laughing when I was out on set. They're like, look at that guy with all the makeup on. Yeah, but it was fun.
But it's stereotypes, There's so many times that just by looking at someone, you come to all kinds of judgments about where they've been, what their life is like, what kind of person they are.
Yeah.
And Well, not necessarily true.
Yeah, I mean, like how much money they have. And I was just at an event this weekend with Saba, right? And Saba, we were in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and Saba's main guy by the name of Eugene Smith, is he's just a regular looking dude, right? And he's the most country sounding guy I've ever heard in my entire life. And unfortunately, when you hear that deep of a country accent, you automatically think, oh, this guy's stupid, and all these sorts of preconceived stupid things, right? But I'm going to admit I've thought that before, but that couldn't be further from the truth, especially with this guy. I walked outside and I saw his motorhome, and motorhome is not even a good word to put to this thing. It looked like a floating palace, man. I went inside of that. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, marble floors, and the thing's pushed out to the side, and there was a bath and a half, and it was ridiculous. And this guy's made a ton of money. And by looking at him and judging a book by a cover and the accent, you would think, he's just some hick farmer down in Kentucky somewhere, and he got an outhouse to go pee in. No, he's got a floating palace that is way better than my house.
And a brilliant businessman.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Set up for life, all from network marketing. A business that a lot of people think, that doesn't work. Well, I've seen evidence multiple times that it does, but I'm not getting on some network marketing kick. I'm just talking about, don't judge people by how they look, man. And don't judge me by how I look, thinking I can bench press 500 pounds, because I can't. I don't want to. I'm not that strong.
Yeah, you have struggled. I think one of the things that struck me most about when we were talking last week was that you don't, it's not your greatest joy in life going to the gym and working out.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's a struggle for you.
Oh, shoot. I got someone sending me a private message, right? It's a big struggle. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Take your time. I forgot. No, it is a big struggle. And I want people to understand that, know that. It can be a struggle to do a whole lot of different things, but that shouldn't mean that we quit. It shouldn't mean that we give up. It shouldn't mean that we stop trying, because life is worth living, and there's a whole lot that you have to contribute to this world, and, we just got to keep searching, man.
Get in touch with your purpose.
Yeah.
Find that meaning, and all the rest will fall into place.
There you go. So, Jim, with that being said, let's end this show today. I think we went into some pretty awesome detail as to being a human being and living on this earth and experiencing things that, we experience. So while I'm waiting for Jim to bring up the music, I just want to tell you guys I appreciate you, and you are awesome, and I love you. That's it. For me, for JJ and Jim, we are the Pants Off Podcast. Make it a great day.
You're listening to the Pants Off Podcast with Clark Bartram and Jeremy Jackson. CBT's Performance Apparel, where fashion meets performance. Upload your custom design or grab the CBT's Deal of the Week at clarkstees.com. The podcast with CB and JJ is sponsored by Providence Video Productions in Escondido, California, providers of full creative, video, and audio production services. Utilizing state-of-the-art professional equipment for all your broadcast needs. Webpage embedded or live streaming videos and podcasts. Aerial drone videography. Music videos, 3D animation, studio, and field production. Contact us at providencevid.com.